The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. This is Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And we had a little snow again yesterday, and a little rain, and a little mess. But we're here, and it looks like it may moderate by July. So, you know, we're moving along. But we've got some, you know, we got same old sometime. But it's good. I guess City Council had a meeting yesterday, and the infamous pay-as-you-throw became a topic again of discussion. So
actually, it became quite contentious. It was the room you couldn't see from the broadcast of the show. I was at City Hall, by the way, since 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I decided that I couldn't be there any longer. But all the citizens' input people were on the side behind the cameras. But what I thought was very interesting was the city council actually asked for the citizens' input. I guess because the people were infuriated about it, and before the meeting they were approaching city councilors. And you know, I don't agree with everything a lot of them do, Chip. But except for one incident last night, I think that they all were extremely professional in the way they tried to get this citizens input time to occur, and they were all professional in their speeches to the city council. Now, if it got across to them, I don't know, but it was very interesting to see that, you know, sans one person, there was no craziness. I mean, people were getting a little frustrated and a little heated. But, I mean, there was no craziness like we've seen in the past where people had to be escorted out of the city council chamber or anything else. So I have to, you know, give credit where credit is due. I think that what those people did last night, all of them, showed that if you pull together as a community, if you pull together as citizens, as voters, you can make sure that your voice is heard.
Well, you know, you're right, and the fact is that, you know, this is what government is supposed to be. I don't mind heated. I don't mind intense. I don't mind you know, those levels, because people have every right to be incensed and to be upset and sometimes get heated. We've seen it not only in Fall River but in other communities where there's talk of tax increases and you know, or the stopping of an athletic program. We've seen people get up to a microphone and you know, get the decibel level turned up a little bit. But this is good. You know, this is government. I mean, this is what happens in, you know, this is what happened in a Continental Congress. This is what happens in a House of Commons every day. This is what happens in government. Long as you stay on topic, there's no reason for personal attacks. You know, that's the key. The key is if you keep it on topic, you keep it on your issues, it's good. You let these people know. I think it was great that the city council allowed it, because they should allow it every time, because they're the representatives of the people. The people should always be allowed to speak and speak their mind. And in case for some people who think, well, I don't want to hear it, I don't agree, well, even in the parliamentary procedure books, be it Atwood's or Cushing's or Roberts, there is a proviso for a minority opinion. The fact is, we have a right as people in this country, even if you're the only one in the room that has a differing opinion, you have a right by parliamentary procedure to get up and express that minority opinion. But the fact is, it's about getting it out in the open, letting people say what they have to say. kudos to the city council last night for allowing this to happen, regardless of whether, anybody agrees or disagrees with what they said. It's a point of view. It informs people. And the reality is, this is what government's about. Because you know something? The reality is that it doesn't matter if you agree if pay-as-you-throw is legal or illegal, whether it was done properly or improperly, whether you hate it or don't care. But the fact is, this is what happens with government. People are elected to represent us. And once they're elected, they have to make decisions. How they get the money, how they're going to fund a budget. They make those decisions. And if we don't like their decision-making process, we vote them out. That's what this government, the way it's supposed to work. The fact is, look, they can't crap money. If they did, we'd be billionaires in Fall River. But the reality is, we have a budget. They have to fund it. You can wrap pay-as-you-throw in any color bag you want, but it's a hidden tax. Because the city needs more money. They keep spending and spending and spending, and they can only raise taxes to 2.5%. There's a statutory requirement that inhibits them from just putting taxes through the roof. So they come up with things like pay-as-you-throw and meter fees and things. But then you can be outraged, or you can say, okay, we've got to get the money somewhere. This seems to be a feasible method. But regardless of that, that's the process. You elect these people to represent you. If they don't represent you in the manner that you want them to represent you, if they vote for things like pay-as-you-throw and you're an opponent of pay-as-you-throw, you work your butt off in the next election to put people in those seats who will listen to you. But the process is airing every opinion out in the light of day. Not only the city council, not only the politicians, but the people. And yesterday was an exercise in democracy. And regardless of what opinion came out, pro or con, that's government, and that's good government.
Well, and Chip, it's interesting to see how people don't feel that they can't say anything. I saw people there that have never come out and spoken. Okay. Very respectful people. And although these people who were saying they were against it were called the vocal minority by former city councilor and president of the Maplewood Association, Emerald Godet, he spoke for the vocal majority. I didn't see the vocal majority there. So I think yesterday Emerald Godet was in the vocal minority, but he had to be sure he lectured us. I have to say that it's up to you, the voter. It's up to you, the citizen, to make sure your voice is heard. Now, we're talking about crap, and we know Fall River had a great crap event last week, 600,000 gallons of it. But I've been looking over the votes of the city council over the past couple of days. And I'm looking at things like $475,000 transferred from pension contributions to police department salaries, from monies being moved from one fund to another, and then 2 meetings later to be moved from that fund back to the original fund, or be moved to a third fund on top of all of that. That's not how you budget. That's not how you budget. And then for school committee member Melissa Panchley to come out and say that, oh, well, we're short by about $1.2 million in the school department budget for fiscal year 2015. But we should be able to get that from the health insurance fund because that money was already budgeted there. What part of John Nunes' statement of, we don't put the money into that budget, we only put that money in there when we have to pay it out, which you're very familiar with that type of situation because this is what the city's been doing for a long time, and as a matter of fact, they've got smacked on the hand by the state a couple of times for doing that. So we have to ask, where are these contributions from the pensions, from the health insurance going when they're being stolen to fund other departments? And I don't want to hear the excuse anymore from the Magnificent Nine, the city council. Well, we have to do that, otherwise we can't pay the police. You budgeted the money for the police. Where is it? You budgeted the money for the fire department. Where is it? That you're going to take monies from retained earnings from last year and put them into this year's salaries because you didn't budget enough money. And that's what it comes down to. These monies are being moved around because the city council failed in their due diligence. They failed in their job and passed a budget which we told them was unsustainable and wasn't correct. I mean, what do you think?
Well, the siphoning off of money from the retirement fund is going to be an issue that will be addressed, and it will be addressed by me. As most of you know, I was just recently elected to the retirement board, and I will be asking the questions why we're taking money that is paid into the retirement system and using it for salaries. We have a rob Peter to pay Paul budget. The same with the health care. I'll answer your question, CJ. You're right. They can't get it from budgeted money. They're going to get the $1.2 million from the pockets of the city employees and retirees because they gutted the health care system so badly and shifted the costs to the tune of an average of $4 million a year to the employee. So it's kind of, the analogy I can use, if you're in your own home, it would be like saying, okay, I'm going to pay my gas bill this month with my electric light bill money. And then the electric light bill comes due, and you say, well, I'm going to pay my electric light bill with my grocery money. And it goes on, and we rob Peter to pay Paul, and then we figure out new ways to do, to delay things, especially in the city. We all know the city, unlike us, we have to pay our bills. If I don't pay my electric light bill, they shut my electricity off. If I don't pay my gas bill, they shut my heat off. You know, if I don't pay my car insurance, I can drive illegally, but if I get into an accident, I'll be on the way to jail and and be sued. But unfortunately, cities can. See how long it takes you to collect for pothole damage, if ever. See how long if you're, even a workman's comp, you're injured in the line of duty, a police officer or a firefighter or a DPW worker hurts himself performing his duties for you and I. And they hang him out to dry for months. And that's a double whammy for us because, number one, he's not back to work, earning his pay and protecting the city. He's sitting there waiting while the city's diddling around trying to get the best deal and low-cost health care for him. They're looking for a bargain basement rate for somebody who was injured protecting the city and its citizens. It's outrageous. But this is what happens every single day in the city of Fall River. I have literally seen people go 6 months or almost a year before they've had a surgery while the city's shopping. But if you fall off a ladder in your yard, you take your Blue Cross card and you're in surgery and you're back to work in 2 months. But instead, they're out of work for a year, and we have to replace them with overtime. We have to pay them, and they're sitting on the shelf and being bored and not doing what they really want to do. People don't want to sit home. They want to go to work. They want to be able to get overtime. They want to be able to make money. If they're sitting at home waiting on a surgery, they're not. This is what happens every single day. It's outrageous. People don't see what goes on behind the scenes of this pay Peter to pay Paul method of running a community. It is outrageous.
And Chip, it's interesting because, as you know, you and I have spoken about this previously, not on the show, but in show prep, that some people who are injured at work here in the city are actually being billed for co-pays because the city is billing their health insurance instead of paying it as a workers' comp claim. And, I've advised those people to go back to the billing company, whether it be South Coast or Stewart or whoever it may be, and say, no, this was workers' compensation. I don't got to pay you anything. And while they don't want to see that or hear that, that's the truth. And that's also illegal. And you and I both know that. But this is the way that they're trying to handle these workers' comp claims. I'm a firm believer in stopping the self-insured portion that the city has. Because personally, we can't budget that. Okay? But granted, when they were doing it under your leadership and under your presence, they were actually saving money, about 12%, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But in the way they're running it, they can't. But why don't they do that? Because they lose that pool of money they can steal from. And I'm going to use that term deliberately, steal from, to meet a budgetary shortfall somewhere else, and then put it back in when they absolutely have to.
Yeah, and the other side of that sort of Damocles, the running the government, is that it's always the people who make the least and do the most work that suffer the consequences of these actions. Because when they rob Peter to pay Paul, for example, they're siphoning off money from the retirement system to pay salaries. That's not what that money was paid into the system for. It's paid into the system to be to go toward the pensions, to be invested, so the pension system can become fully funded. But what happens is they siphon money off year after year after year after year, and then 10 years down the road they go, the pensions are too expensive. We owe $3 million or $4 million or $10 million or $100 million so we have to cut their retirement. So they're victimized again. Their health care's gutted. They go after their pension system because their pension system isn't solvent, but it's the reason it isn't solvent isn't because of the pension system. It's because the cities, the towns, the state has stolen money from those systems every single year and not allowed it to be invested to make that system solvent. It's a disgrace, but that's what happens. And all the people go, oh yeah, they make too much money. Well, the average person doesn't make a lot of money with their pension. Yeah, granted, politicians do. They can leave their state senate job and get $120,000 a year no-show job so they can get a $96,000 a year pension. But we have people in this community who are living on peanuts, and they don't get huge pay raises. The maximum pay raise you can get, the COLA, is capped at $12,000 in this city. So the most you can get is $360 a year when you get a COLA. That's less than $1 a day before taxes. This year they offered them 1.7%. We had to file to allow them to get 3. So instead they were going to offer them under $200 a year, which is less than 50 cents a day before taxes. It's absurd. It's criminal. And what's happened is government has lost sight of it, and I say it time and time again, they've lost sight of what they're here for, which is to provide us with service and have a lean budget that the money is utilized to give us our essential services, not to have an employment agency for every political hack that transitions from some other political agency or comes in because they're related to somebody. There's enough of that on the MBTA and in the Lottery Commission. Every city has become a dumping ground, and it's wrong because the people who suffer are the citizens who are being denied services and the people who are going in every day working, putting in an honest day's work for an honest day's wage, and now are losing health care, retirement benefits because of the mismanagement of government by every mayor. And I'm going to say it's basically, it's been ubiquitous, to use a good word. So that's what it is. And it's wrong. It shouldn't happen. And it continues to happen. And as long as I'm drawing a breath, I will be out there complaining about this and trying to educate people as to how devious these people can be. This is not, you do not fund a budget by robbing Peter to pay Paul. You do it by looking at how much money you have to spend and prioritizing where you're going to be spending it. And if you don't have enough money, you got to tighten your belt and say, well, I can't afford a new car this year or maybe for the next 5 years because I have to put a roof on my house. I have to do it. You have to do it. It's time that we make government do it.
Well, that's a great, lovely expression, but you know who's truly responsible for this? Okay? And I'm going to make a statement, and I'm going to put the flak jacket on before I leave the building because I'm going to get shot outside. It's the idiots who go out and revote these same people in over and over and over again. They don't look at the issues. They listen to the political diatribe. They listen to the statement, in the 20 years I've been in office, look at all the good I've done for Fall River. Give me one specific, nothing. Give me one specific, nothing. Okay? You get none. And I'm sorry, but you know, all 9 of them are culpable. The mayors previous, and hopefully this one won't be, but if history is any indicator of what is to come, there will be no change. And we already saw that with the addition of jobs. Okay? And they're still looking to add jobs. And they know they can't, but they're trying. People have seemed to have forgotten what our Constitution says. Just because they are elected to office does not mean that what they want is what is right or what the people want. They are elected to represent the people. And the power of the elected officer, the power of the judiciary, the legislative, is represented in these people from the people. And that power is never divested of these people. I know that's a quote of yours, Chip, that you love. The First Amendment, you know, the first article in our Constitution. But, you know, this is what the people have forgotten. And I think last night, that power was exercised again by the people. And I'm hoping that this becomes a habit. Okay? Your job as a city councilor is not to sit there and say, oh, well, we have to have pay as you throw because. No. Your job is to say, the people of Fall River have said no. Therefore, it's no. And if the mayor can't understand it, and if the city council can't understand it, these people who are exercising their right, that the power that is invested in these individuals comes from them, and they have the right to take that power away from them. They did it once with a recall. Now the recall will be at the ballot box. Our primary is going to be late this year. It's going to be September 22nd. So make sure you get out. And you know what? All 9 of them, any one of them, and Linda has already said, oh, we're stuck with pay as you throw for 5 years, so we're going to have to deal with this in 5 years. She voted for this. Like it or not, they all voted for it. How did they vote for it? They included that money in the budget. Contracts are not binding on the city council, they are binding on the mayor. If you don't fund it, it's not a binding contract.
Well, so true, but you hit a very good point there. The fact is that yesterday, yesterday was an exercise, as I said, it's about information, and whether you agree or disagree, to me it proved one thing, that we saw something that somebody should have realized. I hope the councilors realized it. You know, you said in your statement that, you know, they told us about pay as you throw, but the fact is they continue to say pay as you throw is being accepted for the most part. We have, and that it's not a bad thing, and, you know, we have people who are participating in it, but the fact is compliance is not acceptance. And the people who spoke last night, I think, that's what you should have drawn from that. City councilors, stop trying to put BS on the top of this pile. Have enough courage to say, listen, this is about money. We've got to have this money to run the city. And I voted for it because we needed the money. We have to have the money. Without this program, our budget's we are gonna go into receivership for sure, even though we're not. So this is a decision I made as an elected official as to how we get money. Why don't you have enough courage to say, look, it's a hidden tax, we all know it, but we need money? And then why don't you take steps to correct why we're pissing away so much money? Stop trying to convince everybody that people are happy. People aren't happy paying $2 for a flimsy purple bag to put in a barrel that they already paid, they're paying a bond issue for, to be picked up by a DPW whose salary they paid already. We've paid enough. I mean, I may not mind spending $2 on an ice cream cone, but I sure as hell got better things to do than buy a flimsy plastic bag with $2. Nobody likes it. Maybe if you ask me my personal opinion, I would say, well, it's better doing it this way than attaching a flat tax on every occupancy in the city, you know, but that's another issue. But the issue here is about truth. It's about transparency. Let's call a spade a spade. Stop trying to BS the people. Stop trying to tell them that the majority of people like pay-as-you-throw. That's absolute crap. And everybody that walked up there and spoke in front of the city council highlighted that even though they're participating, even though they're complying, doesn't mean they accept it, doesn't mean they like it, and doesn't mean they are happy with the way this was rammed down their throat.
No, that's God's honest truth. That's the way it is. And, you know, some people just don't understand it. And I think the city council has just been so oblivious to what's actually happening, they don't care. And I think that's why I'm looking over very closely their votes, because I'm really beginning to wonder if they realize what they're voting for and how they're voting for it. I mean, why is everything a budgetary crisis? Okay, there should be no need to transfer money from any fund to any fund throughout the year. You budgeted it already. If you screwed up your budget, go back to the department and say, find out how you messed up that budget. And then it's really interesting because the loan orders are unbelievable. That's another thing we're going to talk about in a whole nother show. But the loan orders are unbelievable. I think fiscal year 2013 was the banner year for loan orders. For everything under the sun. $875,000 for park improvements, and, you know, $4 million for this, and $100,000 for Hurricane Sandy, and $1.4 million for the February blizzard. We're 1.7 this year. We're going to take out a loan order for that now? I mean, I know that we can't budget for a snowstorm or the number that we've had this year, but really, I mean, everything has to be a loan. And then, not only that, this is the other lie that I love. Well, we're going to refinance these loans to save money. No, we're refinancing these loans because we can't pay them. That's what people, you know, you can put lipstick on a pig all you want. It's still a pig.
Well, you're right, CJ. And the thing is, that's what we really want here. I think, you know, the theme of today's show is about the truth in government. And we need it. And I will clean up one of my favorite quotes by using, you know, if you're going to urinate on my head, at least extend me the courtesy of not trying to convince me it's raining. You know, so the fact is, look, stop giving us this line. Stop pretending that everything you do is wonderful and in the best interest of the city. Have enough courage to say, hey, look, we need money to run the city, and this is the way we feel we can get it, and it's the least painful method that we can figure out, because maybe somebody else can figure out a better method. But you know something? If you say that, the people might say, well, you know something? Why do we need so much money to run this city, and where is it going? And it's not the problem. We all understand that we have to pay for services, but that money is not going to the right places. It's going to far too many fat cats sitting in offices and not enough people out in the trenches. And that's the bottom line.
Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next show Friday. Have a great day.